Aw, shit, it's a good show. It's a great show. It's a shit show. Pick a Rick show. Not a Jerry show. Scary Terry show. Lick my balls show. Szechuan sauce show. It's the fucking Rick and Morty fan show, bitch.
The Wastelands. No, that's okay. Hey, how's it going, guys? This is the Rick and Morty fan show. I'm happily reporting from my home studio. We're going to talk today about one specific thing and one thing only, and that is Birdperson. We got some crazy revelations. Let's just adjust that so I'm not being cut off like, howdy ho neighbor Wilson. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Birdperson all episode. If you guys want anything you want to discuss, based on Birdperson or anything like that, if you super chat, we'll talk about whatever the hell you want. We can talk about how a plumbus is made. So if you guys want to get your chats or anything read off, if you want to change the direction of the show a little bit, you can do that by sending in a super chat and saying, Kieron, I would like to talk about this, or what about this? And we'll get into it a little bit. But without that, I think we're mostly going to center on Birdperson, just because of this monumental episode. It was quite crazy, quite altering. Like, it was quite a revelation, this episode. So I talked about it a little bit in my immediate reaction video, but I had a little bit more time to dig. Those immediate reaction videos are I'm just like you guys. I watch it and I'm like, holy shit, what just happened? Now I've had time to watch it a couple times. I went back and watched every episode that has a Birdperson in it, and we're going to kind of go over all of Birdperson's characters' history in the show canon. I don't have anything on the comics. I think I do have some comics that have him in it, but those are kind of like not really canon. So, you can always say they're from a different dimension, but there is one of the comic books that follows C-137, and I don't know if those things are treated as canon or not either. So that's what we got today. We're going to talk about Birdperson. So once again, if you like, bring up anything that you think is interesting about this episode, or we can talk a little bit more about the Beth history stuff, and I'm sure we'll get into that a bit. But we're going to focus more on Birdperson. Ryan Kinney says I have Birdman comics. Birdman's off. The Birdman show, I think it was just called Birdman. The one where he's a lawyer is hilarious. I love that show. It's really, really quick 5 to 10 minute episodes, but fucking hilarious show. Anyways, so in order to get some more interesting, I'm going to bring you guys a little bit of interest that you might not know. I do have my handy dandy Rick and Morty character guide, which tells us a little bit about Birdperson that you guys might not have known about. I'll give you a little bit of a preview of what it looks like just before we get in there. So this is canon. It's kind of cool. I'll get to messages later. So I read through all this just to see if there was anything interesting, and there was something kind of cool that you guys might not know about Birdperson. It doesn't really add to his character so much, but it does tell you about what happens in the first few seasons with Birdperson. It tells you about the wedding and everything like that. But it also says, and I'll read it here, possibly Rick Sanchez's oldest and dearest friend, Birdperson is a figure shrouded in lost, intimate conversations procured by an operative reveal his understanding of mortality and pain. So obviously, it says, born of deep casualties among his people on the Bird Wars. So much like there's the Gear Wars, there was the Bird Wars on Bird Planet, which is apparently occupied by the Federation as well. So that's some stuff in here that I don't know if has been revealed on the show before, but this was kind of cool. Hiding behind the stoic melancholy is a remarkably efficient killer a sworn warrior schooled in the ancient art of Gubba Nabba Wob Nob, which is bird kickboxing. So, guys, this is a new fact you might not know. Gubba Nabba Wob Nob is bird kickboxing. Survivors of his aerial combat maneuvers describe the ancient fighting style as seriously intense bird guy shit. A graceful dance of death that could be probably cut some of the dancing element and still remain just as deadly. And that's a little bit of a excerpt from Birdperson's character guide reference. So yeah, now you know that, you know, you got it from here, unless you already have this cool fancy book, that Birdperson knows bird kickboxing, which is Wabba Gabba Wob Nob? Something. I've already forgotten it. I always try to remember the other, like Wubba Lubba Dub Dub, and then the other one that Birdperson says. I can't remember it, so whatever. But anyways, Johnny R says, how can we get the book? I got the book from Indigo, which is basically our like Barnes and Noble here in Canada. If you guys are in the States, Barnes and Noble. It was like $60 Canadian, 60 or 70 Canadian. So I'm assuming it would be like 40, 50 American. But yeah, it has a little bit of a cover on it too. Lance also says you can get it from Amazon. So thank you very much to Lance for helping answer that question. Yeah, so that's in the book, but we're going to go over sort of the history of Birdperson and kind of break down what happens, because in this new episode, we have the revelation that the war had gone wrong. You know, we've already heard Blood Ridge. Everyone's kind of heard of that. It's mentioned in Rick and Morty in the show. And it seems like to be a big, important moment. But the war was won, and the reason it went bad, we found out, is because Rick kind of invited Birdperson to be his best friend, his comrade, and, you know, come do all sorts of cool shit with him all over the universe. And Birdperson was not interested in the least, and was kind of like, dude, like, our relationship is we fight together. Like, we are comrades. We're not friends in the sense of like we hang out and do shit together. So it was really interesting to see another part in this season where Rick gets kind of humanized. You know, he's, instead of being the god Rick who can't, you know, nothing bad ever happens to and he knows everything. And this was a Rick who was like, oh man, you're cool as shit. Let's hang out. And he was like, no. Like, I'm not really interested in that. I have my own bird life to get back to. And it was kind of like one of those things that you would think he would want erased from, like he would want to use the Morty's Mind Blowers machine to erase anyone's, you know, around who saw that, because he, you know, got rejected. So, but analyzing this, going back, you don't really see a lot of times where Birdperson is really that interested when hanging out with Rick anyways. It's always Rick who seems excited about hanging out with Birdperson. Yeah. So let's go back and kind of examine all the appearances he has. I kind of wrote down, I wrote down on, this is just my board I use for writing. We're not going to talk about medieval kings and queens. So we first meet Birdperson in the episode where they have the house party and they teleport the house to another dimension, and you know, that's kind of where we pick up Birdperson as just one of those extra characters. He, like, when we meet him, we don't really know that he's more than you know, the Glip Glops or Squanchy or Gearhead or Revolio Clockbird Jr., as he prefers to be called. And he gets called Gearhead again this episode. And his brother's name is Gear Dude, which is funny because we don't know if that's his actual name either, or if that they just call him Gear Dude, and then his, you know, younger brother was Gearhead. So you know, we meet him at this, and yeah, he's not any more of a character than Slow Mobius or any of these other crazy guys who get invited to the party. Aberloff Linkler has been in a couple episodes now. but I'm just saying we don't, like, Bird Person's not a big thing at that point. It starts off the episode. I want to point out that Tammy goes to the party and she messes up her hair, and, you know, she's trying to appear drunk, and she's trying to appear like she is ready for a hookup. She's DTF. And Bird Person responds to a beacon. So he comes out and he says, you know, what's the problem? I responded to the beacon. And he thinks he's coming in to fight, or he's coming in to, join Rick in some sort of adventure. That's important mission. And that's what happens in this episode. He says, if you ever need me, just call me on the beacon. And Rick says, I'll fucking do that all the time. He was all butthurt about it. And it's just kind of, it's nice that it loops back to the start there. And we see there that the only reason that he could get Bird Person was not to phone him and be like, hey, man, I'm having a party. He had to give him, he used the beacon to make sure that Bird Person came there. So that's a really good indication of the fact that, he doesn't think he could just phone Bird Person and say, like, hey, man, we got a party. The only way to get him there, like, right away was to send the beacon, just like the Vindicator's beacon, or whatever you want to call it. So that's interesting. And then, he says, like, don't worry, is Bird Person. He's like, we're going to get you laid and stuff like that. And Bird Person's like, it has been a challenging mating season. So he accepts, and he comes in, and we get Bird Person at the most fun he has is at this party. You see him, like, sitting on the chair. He's got Tammy up on the arm, and he's patting her while we're dancing and doing the Rick dance. And Rick looks really excited when he sees Bird Person this first time. He's got this big, like, he's excited that Bird Person's here. Bird Person's not quite as excited, but he's like, yeah, sure, I'll come in this party. So it's really supported what happens in this episode. Also, Bird Person comes in and meets Tammy, and he tells Tammy that, he just got out of a highly intense soul bond, which was interesting because they didn't really make any reference of that in this new episode. They didn't tell you, who his mate was before. I don't remember seeing anything like that. Maybe it was one of the characters that was in the meeting. They had that meeting planning the Blood Ridge attack, and there was a female character, so who knows? Maybe it was that character. I don't know. But we didn't get any insight on that. But that's some history of Bird Person. And then he explains at the end of the episode when they're cleaning up the party, and Tammy's still there. Explains what Wubba Lub Dub Dub means, and explains that, Rick is in great pain and he needs to numb himself. But it's important to mention that he does not at any point really bring up that Rick is his friend or his old friend or anything either. It's still mainly like, he's saying, like, Rick has, like, a PTSD and needs to drink himself to sleep some nights because, all the shit, all the fucked up crap that's happened to him. And that reveals that Bird Person knows about Rick's past. So that's what happens in that episode. That's a little bit of insight into that. Let's quickly, I know there was some good chat stuff, so let's go and visit the chat and see what's happened here so far. Once again, if you need to get your message out there, you can do what Lance just did right now. During this sentence, you can send me a super chat, and I will read it on air, and I will read it just like this. Lance Livingstone says, BP and Tammy, baby. Tammy was a pretty big oh crap moment. Yes, the fact that they have a baby and the fact that we got to see it in the extra credits was amazing. Like, we didn't have to wait for that. We got to see, oh yes, this baby is imprisoned by the Federation, which was interesting because I recently was talking about how the Federation can't really be gone because they destroyed the base or whatever like that, and he collapsed the government. But then after that, they still had that giant that giant machine death ray thing. Tammy was still there. They still converted Bird Person. So the Gromphlomites are probably I don't know if they're ever going to go away. Although most of the Gromphlomites in this new episode were in Bird Person's memory, so that doesn't change that. Anyways, yeah, that was a really big reveal. I thought the Birdperson stuff was way more important than the Beth stuff. I know people are really crazy about the fact that Beth was not his real Beth, or like his real Beth is dead, but his real Beth, like as far as we knew, was back in Cronenberg world anyways. Like he fucking forgot about her and left. Anyways, this is the third Beth that he has, well, I guess he has his own Beth, who has apparently died. He has the original Beth that is in Cronenberg world, or the world that he Cronenberged, not the actual Cronenberg world. Or is that, no, sorry, Cronenberg world, yeah, because D. Cronenberg, Rick and Morty went to the Citadel. Anyways, also in Beth and the clone Beth, the space sci-fi Beth. So there's 4 Beths right there that he is linked to. So, like, it doesn't really pique my interest thinking about that. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Why people are more excited about that than Birdperson stuff. Johnny R says, how big a fan are you of Back to the Future movie, considering it gets so much comparisons to Rick and Morty? I mean, if you don't know, Johnny, that's because the characters were based on his characters, Doc and Marty, who were way more directly linked to Back to the Future characters, but didn't really. It wasn't a parody of them because they were doing things that, Doc Brown and Marty would never do, like having Marty lick Doc's balls to do everything. But that's what happened. And then those were just characters that Justin Roiland really liked. When Dan Harmon came and said, like, hey, they want me to write a story. What do you got, like, for Adult Swim? And he said, oh, I still love these 2 characters that have talked to each other, and they were Rick and Morty. In the end, they were just these 2 voices he likes to do. So they're kind of Doc and Marty, and they're kind of Back to the Future's Doc Brown and Marty McFly. Anyways, I do really like Back to the Future classic movies. Love them all. I even love the 3rd one, which some people don't like. And that answers your question. Harmon Hurl says, Birdperson reminds me of Dan's assistant Spencer. I was going to talk a bit about this too. Oh, yes, thank you. And North America Hip Hop says, please remember to like the video. Rick is based on Dan, yeah. But the voice is different. And Dan Harmon is, of course, the voice of Birdperson. I was going to bring this up. So the way that I've always thought of it is Birdperson is kind of like a Spock character. Like, he's very much like Spock. If you watch old Star Trek, he is, Spock had a friendship with Captain Kirk where they were, best friends. They were best friends. They loved each other. They saved each other. They sacrificed themselves for each other. And but when you watch the show, they don't appear as friends so much because Spock is a very literal person. He was all 100% logical. You know what I mean? Everything was logic. So it's the same thing with Birdperson, where he is, like, their friendship is logical because they, fight the forces of evil together, or fight the, government that they hate together. And that's what makes it logical that they, fight together, hanging out and drinking beers and forming, a band, which apparently was a really quickly improvised thing, is not like not logical. So, that I think that's where someone like Birdperson is not a great friend, because he's like, Rick says, like, hey, like, let's go bowling, and he's like, why would we go bowling? Like, I have other shit to do. But then when he's like, hey, we need to fight the government, he's like, okay, I'm in. And that's, there are people like that in real life too. So I mean, it's interesting that the revelation that I got so much from this is just basically that Birdperson is not really Rick's friend in the sense of friends that we have. Anyways, Birdperson reappears in the Get Swifty episode for a short time. Morty, when he finds out that Rick was lying to him about the charge in the portal gun, takes the portal gun, goes to Butt World, goes to, I don't know, Greasy Grandma World, and plenty other crazy places, and then ends up eventually getting to Birdperson's world, and he's all tired and he faints out. He wakes up and Birdperson tells him that Rick saved Birdperson's life. He's the only reason that either of them are there. He's the only reason that they met. And he shows him the picture of him and Birdperson. He shows the picture of the Flesh Curtains, which is the band with them and Squanchy that kind of got canonized and I think got continued in the comic books. It's actually a big fan favorite that they have the Flesh Curtains. Is just, I don't know, people seem to love it. People like to make it into pictures and do things with it. It's very important to the Rick and Morty fan base that the Flesh Curtains showed up in this episode. Birdperson also says that it was a dick move for Morty to steal Rick's own portal gun and take off on him on it. But another important part with the relationship between Birdperson and Rick is that he's talking to Morty, and Morty says, Rick doesn't really care about anything. It's just like he just bullshits and does whatever he wants and does all this adventure stuff. Birdperson does not refute that. He does not say that, like, it's true that he doesn't give a shit about anything and just does whatever he wants. Birdperson says that's, because he's like that, that's what makes him able to do anything and everything and make all these things possible. So Birdperson does not, refute the claim that Rick's an asshole and he does whatever the fuck he wants and he doesn't give a shit about anyone. So Birdperson, is okay with that understanding of Rick. But he does say that that's what makes him powerful and that's what makes him able to do the things that he does. So that was a little tiny, he was in that snippet for a little bit, but it was very important. Next we got he shows up in the Wedding Squanchers episode, obviously very important for him. He's not in it for that long, but that's because it doesn't last very long. Now, another important interaction that he has is with Beth. He has a very important interaction where she is talking to him about getting acceptance from her father and having to do all this stuff. And Birdperson just basically ignores what she says. He's having one of those conversations with her. And I know if it's through work or through something, we've all met those people who you talk to them and they don't hear what you say at all and they just go on with what they were going to say anyways. Some people are not social geniuses, and you talk to them and they just, she says it's like talking to a wall. It's like talking to a brick wall, which is oddly enough what my mom used to say to me when I was young. She'd be telling me not to do something and I'd go do it anyways, and she'd be like, it's like talking to a brick wall. So it's important because he's talking, he says like, oh, the path that me and your father have, carved is stained in blood of enemies and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, oh yeah, my father, like, I'm hoping to get closer to my father because of this and that. And he says like, like, what does he say? He says, he just goes on about, I can't remember the exact wording, but he just goes on about how, they were fighting and, and he says we're fugitives from the galactic government and, like we go on dangerous missions and we're considered terrorists. And basically she's trying to talk about how she's trying to get his acceptance, and he's like not really paying attention at all to what she's saying and just talking about, how dangerous it is that they do this and that. I think he's inebriated at his own wedding, but important because once again, it kind of shows the character is not socially, he's not very wise socially. He doesn't understand that, talking is a two-way thing. Obviously, we find out that Tammy was not really in love with Birdperson, or so we think. And this is another important thing: that Tammy, who says like, "I know I did this, but I love you," is Birdperson's memory of Tammy. So that's not the real Tammy saying that. That's what Birdperson believes. So that's not at all canon that she really loved him and whatever. Like that's just the memory talking. So don't take that into account. That's one of the confusing things about this new episode, is that everything that takes place in Birdperson's brain. So it's only based on what he knows and what Rick brings in there. So what he knows based off Rick bringing that information there. But the baby is canon because it was locked away by the Federation. Someone probably went in there with the brainalyzer. It was probably that Nathan Fillion guy. And anyways, he gets turned into Phoenix Person. We do also see Birdperson in the Story Train arc, where they sing this wonderful song about not quite a bird, not quite a person, which is interesting because that kind of pushes you into him being a little bit more of Rick's friend and being sharing wonderful moments with him, but it's not canon. So it seems like a little clever steer in them. If they knew that this story was coming up, they steer you in a different direction, showing that Birdperson has feelings and flies with Rick, and it was kind of funny. I'm not sure what's going on with the chat. I'm not seeing any chats here. I'm not sure if there just isn't any chats, but there is people in here watching. So let me just see if I can fix it. Nope. Okay, but anyways, doesn't matter. So now we get to this episode where we go traveling through Birdperson's mind, and we're going to get a little bit more context into these things. I think it's important that we realize that he didn't have those memories and that he thought he died at his wedding. He wants to die. So basically, Birdperson is like, I died. I want to die. I want to go back to dying. I was cool with dying. And he doesn't understand that Rick is trying to save him. Rick, another super chat in here from the Harmon Hole. It says, I'm thinking Rick told Birdperson that Beth was dead. Yeah, I think that he must know. He must have told Birdperson at some point through their adventures. And a lot of people think this canonizes the memory that was in the season 3 opener. Beth as a little girl and Rick's wife, being vaporized by the Council of Ricks. I don't think that this really canonizes that. I think that this means that might have happened. That it might have happened in some sort of way. But you got to keep a very open mind with Rick and Morty. I know everybody really wants to tie this up and think that it's finished. I know that everybody wants to think that, all the things that they thought or they want are being canonized and definitely happened, but that's not what this means. That's just not how it works with Rick and Morty. They could be anything. Would Birdperson like Rick for ditching his family? Yeah, that's true. I don't think he would support that, but obviously we know that Rick was holding back the idea of his daughter, or not daughter, Birdperson's kid. We know it's a daughter now, I think. It looked like a girl in that after sequence, but we know that he was saying Rick was not going to tell him so that they could keep hanging out, and he thought that was kind of a terrible idea. So, he would be right if Birdperson found out, that Rick was, might want to know why Rick was not with his family. Anyways, Birdperson doesn't want to be saved. It's interesting that Rick goes to crazy lengths to save this Birdperson instead of grabbing another universe Birdperson. He wants that original one that he never, I don't think he got the praise from that Birdperson, so he's looking for that. he's always looking to impress him, and that's kind of a theme that we've gotten as well when we got the episode with the Cenobites, where he needed to impress people and tell people cool stories and talk about how lame Jerry was. So in this episode, we got so many more things. We got the flesh curtains. We got to see that they met there and that they formed the band probably on that same night because it was the same location. I don't know. It could be the same festival another year, but it looks like he met Birdperson and Squanchy. They got high together. They got up on stage and they said, we're going to make a band. Like, we're going to play for you. And that was the memory that Birdperson had. Interesting as well that, they always talk about how much they don't like Gearhead, but why do they invite him to parties? Well, it's because it's one of their fallen comrades' younger brother. Maybe they feel like they need to take care of a Gearperson or a Gearhead because Gear Dude passed away. And, that was apparently a really sad moment for them. They talked about how sad that was. Squanchy also had a failed stand-up career, which was pretty funny. Breaking down the relationship between Rick and Birdperson, like, I feel like this was always here. We just didn't see it. Birdperson is not, Rick's like wonderful tag team partner. They just, they go off and drink and do all sorts of crazy shit together. Like, that's how Rick would like it to be. But it seems like Birdperson is just very logical about what he does with his time and very, not, I guess, just disinterested in having a friendship with Rick, which is really interesting. We never saw it that way. I think we always saw that Birdperson was his friend and assumed that he got invited to lots of fun stuff. Them having the band together and them, him saying that Rick saved his life and stuff like that kind of steered us in the idea that, they're best friends. But really, Birdperson is like, Rick's awesome. He saved me. Not like Rick's awesome. We do this shit together all the time. And I think that was really cool. And I kind of went through that whole thing today and found out, that Birdperson in the past has never really shown excitement to hang out with Rick, or never, he just kind of got tricked into hanging out. And this is the genius of this season so far. In season 5, they've done so many things that have, you've gone back and you've seen like, hey, like this stuff has always existed. They've gone back and they've pulled things, they've used the first episode of this season to show that, he has a canon past with Mr. Nimbus. They've shown a lot of things that have happened, and they've gone a little bit in the past. Are we going to find out about Kyle in this upcoming episode? We're apparently going to find out Rick is going to try and replace Morty. And, one of the options on that little board is Kyle 2.0. So will we find more about Kyle? Will we find more about the past? That's the other thing that we have to talk about tonight is Rick and Morty is having an hour-long season finale. Thank you to my lovely assistant. Wife. Yes. So are we going to find more of this? I mean, setting up a 2-hour season finale, which is going to happen on September 5th, is, it's kind of disappointing if we're not getting episodes up until then, but I can wait. I'm a fan who can wait. I'm not upset about that. I'll figure it out. But we're going to get a 1-hour episode. What's going to be in that 1-hour episode? It's been advertised as being Rick trying to replace Morty, and who does he replace Morty with? Who knows? But that's what we're going to get is Rick trying to replace Morty. Now, do I think that Rick is ever going to replace Morty in the series? No. Morty's going to come back in. It'll be fine. It'll be the same as ever. It's like The Simpsons. It resets all the time. There are things that are canon in The Simpsons, but there's always The Simpsons ready to jump into whatever action. These are the 5 characters they base the series after. and the 5 archetype characters that they have to play with in the sandbox, along with background characters. So I do not think they're going to get rid of Morty, introduce a new character that will stick around. I don't think Morty's going to go for any amount of episodes, maybe 1 possibly. Like, he wasn't even in this episode really, except for the first 30 seconds or so. So I don't think that's going to happen, but are we going to get more canon backstory, which people have been dying for all year? And I told people they're probably not going to get it. So I got to admit, I'm a little bit wrong on the fact that we have gotten a little bit of backstory for Rick. I did say that I thought that we were going to get more Birdperson, because I know that they love the Birdperson character. He's been in more episodes than any other background character, really. Any character that's not in almost every episode, he's been more than any of them. Harmon Hole, who is hanging out with us here, says, I can't wait for season 6. It'll be weird since it was written at the same time as season 5. I get that that's going to happen, but I think the ideas for episodes in the middle were written. I don't think that means we're going to get less canon stuff, or that stuff is not going to be in order properly. I know they animated a lot of it, season 6 and 7, or well, I think they're already working on season 7 now. But season 5 and season 6 kind of animated together, but it takes a big animating team to just get all these things right, and the context of it doesn't matter. They can do all that before we really get any actors in, and all to do is change the mouths and everything. Hopefully I'll get to talk. I haven't. It's been a while since I talked to anybody who worked on season 5 or 6. Before I did talk to a few people who worked on the seasons, and I got some interesting information, but I haven't really published any of that or told you guys about any of that. I'll save that for when we get to the off season. But yeah, I might have to go and see what I can dig up on season 6 in the off season here after we're done talking about the current season, which really excited to come in here and talk to you guys about all the time. Thank you guys for tuning in to the immediate reaction videos. My immediate reaction videos are getting a lot of views, and I have a little bit of a different audience there. I have a few friends who I've seen have been showing up quite often to watch those. So thanks to you guys. If you're here watching this one, thanks to you guys for watching my immediate reaction videos. They're so much fun to do. And like I say, I get finished watching the Rick and Morty show and I want to talk to my friends, but my friends are not really big Rick and Morty fans. I don't really have, producer Sean here is probably the friend I talk to the most, these days, because we do so much shit together. And he does not really, I can't talk to him about Rick and Morty. He doesn't care about Rick and Morty. That's why he's not appearing on the show. Otherwise, he'd probably be like a little head box up here with me, but he's not a Rick and Morty guy. So I like to come here and talk to you guys about it. I'm so happy I can come here, talk to Damon, talk to Lance, talk to Matt, talk to Jody, talk to Misty, talk to Leslie, all these people. All you guys who come and watch here, that's what that's the reason I like to come here and hang out with you guys and talk about the episodes. So thank you very much for making those episodes do so well. We got about 3-4 minutes left. If you guys want to bring up any questions, I really don't have anything for this last 3 minutes. So if you guys anything you want to talk about, put it in the chat. You don't even have to super chat. Throw it in the chat here. Lance says, I bought a Flesh Curtains shirt with all the tour dates on the back. That is awesome. Oh, my God. If you guys have not seen Lance's amazing collection of Rick and Morty stuff, like his Rick and Morty museum that I think I was the first one to say it should be a museum. It was me or him in one of our many conversations about Rick and Morty. His entire museum room in his house is like this, except better, and everywhere in the room. It's crazy. It's amazing. You can see some pictures of it on his group, which is, I think, called Rick and Morty Museum now. Oh, yeah. I do love this backdrop. It's actually a blanket. It's a blanket. I used to use it on the back of my chair at Sean's. I'll have to get another one. But yeah, I think Lance is it's Rick and Morty Museum. That's your new group, right? It has some pictures of your awesome collection. He really does have all the greatest shit. The greatest Rick and Morty shit collection I've ever seen. Damon says that his Harmon Hole is Damon, by the way. Says my friends haven't even watched since season 3. I know, it's crazy. I don't know what it is. Like, some people just, they're not interested in getting caught up. Rick and Morty did alienate some of its fans by not coming out on a regular release schedule. Now, I mean, it's doing very fine right now. Rick and Morty, the show, is doing great. I haven't heard anything to counter that with, you know, how good or bad ratings were. I believe they're doing just fine. I know that they have been able to plan out lots of crazy releases and things like that. And, you know, I definitely, if they weren't doing very good, they wouldn't be able to have all these crazy animes come out and this crazy video game short come out and so many different 5-minute videos come out. A very important question from Ryan Kinney. He says, so there's no new episodes for like a month, and then there's a 1-hour-long season finale. I believe that is true. That's all I've heard so far from from all of the news sites and things like that. Let me see if I can sign into my Rogers in Ignite. Ignite TV, and I will see if there is a listing currently for the next day's Rick and Morty. Let me see if I can do that, because I can do that on my computer right here. Luckily, we got the really cool Ignite TV. All right, so we'll go to pick a date. Oh man, my voice is. Woo. So I do know it's September 5th that's happening on, but let's check what's happening on Sunday night on my PVR box. Oh, 11 p.m. on channel 82 here in Canada. Has Rick and Morty still slotted in? Yeah, see, it tells me that next week it's going to be Rick Dinner or Mort Dinner Rick Andre. So yeah, it would appear we're not getting a new episode next week, and I don't believe we're getting one until September 5th now. So we are done. You know, if you count that as a special, and really it's episodes 9 and 10 put together, I believe that they'll be back to back and they'll tell one story. But yeah, that's what people have been kind of saying online, and this kind of confirms it, because normally at this point we do have the proper episode listed on Rogers Ignite TV. Now they could be wrong, could be like Amazon Canada screwing us up a little bit earlier here. But yeah, that's what it looks like. So the bad news is no Rick and Morty. No Rick and Morty for almost a month now. That's the bad news, and that news certainly sucks, because we weren't really thinking that was over. We were, you know, they kind of pulled the rug out from under us. But the good news is we get an hour-long special, which is going to be comprised of 2 episodes, which means those 2 episodes, there's no reason to save them for that if they don't go together. And so we do have cliffhangers that go together, but we've never had 2 episodes that directly go together and make it one whole big long special episode. I don't know if they'll divide it up or if we'll get another opening half hour in, and I believe they'll cut it up into 2 episodes, because, you know, for DVDs and for re-airing it, they don't always have to re-air both episodes. So I believe it'll be 2 episodes. It just makes sense if you watch cartoons. That's kind of what they normally do. Rick and Morty does buck trends, but I believe it'll be 2 episodes that go together. Season finale, and it'll be Rick finding a new Morty. It looks like is the big thing, and that's should come with some fun canon stuff. and hopefully some great jokes and gags. Really have loved this season so far. I talked to my brother earlier. Haven't really talked to him a lot about this season. And he said the same thing. I don't know why people are upset about this season at all. He said, I love it. I think it's fucking awesome. So, there you have it. I guess it just runs in the family. We love Rick and Morty. And yeah, that's going to do it for me today. It seems kind of weird because we only talked about one thing, but I really thought the wheels were turning in my head about, about Birdperson, about the whole history of Birdperson. And I was happy I got to bring you that cool little bird kickboxing thing that you guys now know. So yeah, if you guys want to follow what I do, if you're watching this video later, or if you're, watching for the first time, go and join the Rick and Morty Fan Show Facebook group, spelled like that, Rick and Morty Fan Show, with the whatever the hell that's called, ampersand, I don't know. Yeah, I have a page, I have a group. In the group, a lot of contests happen. You can win Rick and Morty shit. It's awesome. It's fucking awesome as shit, guys. Just join the group because it's awesome. You like Rick and Morty if you're watching this episode. You can also join my Instagram or my Twitter. The Instagram is not incredibly active, but the Twitter is always active. And, I get to talk to a lot of other Rick and Morty podcasters on there, so that's really great. Also, you can sign up for extra content on Fandom Empire on patreon.com/Fandom Empire. And you can check out Fandom Empire Live, which is happening right after this show on Fandom Empire. So the best way to get that is to go on Fandom Empire. This channel down, it should be down there somewhere, and it says subscribe. Subscribe to Fandom Empire, and you'll get all of my stuff. All of our horror stuff, all of our Batman stuff, all of our Marvel stuff, all of our fandom all together stuff. And yeah. So I appreciate you guys coming out to hang out and listen to the music, guys. Took me a long time to make that cool music. You didn't even put on the music.
It's a good show. It's a great show. It's a shit show. Pick a Rick show. Not a Jerry show. Scary Terry show. Lick my balls show. Szechuan sauce show. It's the fucking Rick and Morty Fan Show, bitch.